Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for checking out my channel. My name's Danny Cronson. Today we're doing a little tutorial on the chromatic harmonica. Even though people on the internet are yelling at me, hey man, you need to pick a lane and stick with it, screw that, metrics be damned. If this helps even one person, then it was worth it. And I just am gonna do what I find fun on a day-to-day basis. Alright, so for the first part of the tutorial, I am going to explain the key we're in, the notes we're using, and then I'll go into how to play some different intervals, arpeggios, scales, and etc. The first thing that you're going to want to know is we are playing in E flat major, so that is E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D, and then E flat again. And I'm going to show you how to play it right now. Okay, so with the slide in, we're going to draw on the first hole for E flat. Slide off, we're going to draw on the second hole for F. We're going to go to the third hole, no slide again, and blow for G. Now we'll continue blowing and press a slide in on that same hole to get A flat. We're going to draw in with the slide still pressed in to get B flat. We'll go to the 5 hole and blow with no slide to get C. We'll draw on that same hole, still no slide, to get D. And then we'll press our slide in while drawing on the same hole that we were just on to get E flat. So real slowly, it's... Okay, so that is the first and probably most important part of the lesson, is simply learning the scale on as many octaves and as far up as you can take it. So with E flat on the chromatic 12 hole, that's 2.5 octaves. You can't go past B flat on the 12th hole, and I'm going to demonstrate that right now just to show you. Alright, so once you got that, there's a couple different areas that you can start hitting that are then going to give you some extra ideas and kind of lines that you can splice in. One way is to start going through the scale in different intervals, going through it in third, fourths, fifths, sixths, etc. And then another one is also doing arpeggios within the scale. So doing an E flat, major 7th arpeggio, or doing an F minor arpeggio, or a G minor arpeggio. These are all the diatonic chords inside of E flat major that you can also arpeggiate on the harmonica, much like sax and horn players do. It's really the same principle. So I'll give you a brief overview of how to go through the scale in thirds, which then you can feel free to, take that and try and do fourths, try and do fifths, try and do sixths or sevenths. And, they get a little tougher each time because there's more space in between them. But it's really going to teach you, if you do that, the kind of ins and outs of the spacing of the chromatic harmonica. Alright, now if we go through it in thirds, it's going to look and sound like this. We're going to go 1 to the 3 hole for E flat to G. Then we're going to go F to A flat on 2 to 3 hole. Now we're going to go G to B flat. Now we're going to go A flat to C. Now we're going to go B flat to D. And then C to E flat. Okay, so once you've got that down pretty good, I would recommend also going through the scale, slowly of course, and learning how to play the arpeggios within the scale. So that would be E flat major 7, F minor 7, G minor 7, A flat major 7, so on and so forth. And I'll demonstrate some of that now, and then I think it's really good for students to kind of be able to figure some of it out on their own. That's kind of some of the magic to it. And it becomes a little rote, I feel, if everything gets, just kind of shoehorned in. I give you all the information. I think it's much better to kind of work your way through the scale and find it yourself. So here's a explanation on the E flat and the F minor arpeggios, and then it's kind of up to you to figure out the rest of them. All right, so our E flat arpeggio is E flat, G, B flat, D, E flat, and it goes like this. And our F minor arpeggio is F, A flat, C, E flat, F. And it goes like this. Now you might have noticed that what comprises the arpeggios is really essentially just thirds. You're skipping every other note in the scale. So if your scale is E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D, then you can simply write that out, and from each starting point, you are just going to skip a note each time, and you will get the arpeggios. So that is what I'm talking about. That is what you should do on the chromatic harmonica, and you'll slowly go through it, and eventually you'll be able to play all the arpeggios, and it's pretty easy to figure out, because if you just write out the scale, E flat through D, and then pick a starting point. If you're starting on E flat, then you're skipping a note, and then you're skipping a note, and you're skipping a note. So you get E flat, G, B flat, D. And the same pattern repeats for the whole thing. So that's basically the framework for figuring out all of the arpeggios. And once you've done that, it's going to, really be able to help you create lines, and you'll be able to splice it into your playing, and it's just going to make you a well-rounded player. All right, so one last thing that I want to talk about is trills on the chromatic harmonica, and it's a nice way to just add a little, a little flair or whatever to the line, and it will work at some points in the scale and sound right, and it might not work at some other points in the scale and it will sound wrong. Although there's players out there that can make just about anything sound right. So the first one I'm going to say, and probably the biggest one, is if you trill the 2, which is F in our scale. It's just got a nice sound, and it resolves very well to the 1. So if I'm drawing in on the second hole to get F, right? So if our line is like, right? So that works, doing a little trill there. It also works pretty well on the A flat. If you go, now you hear if I hold it for a while, it doesn't really work. It's this quick kind of thing. Because if I go, that sounds kind of nasty, but if I go, then it works all of a sudden. So, with a lot of passing notes, it kind of has this timing thing to it, where if it's quick enough, it passes. If it's a little too slow, or if you sit on that note, then it doesn't so much. All right, so that is the bulk of our lesson here. I really appreciate everyone checking this out, and I hope it helps you, start to hone in on, some chromatic concept ideas and playing. As always, you should take this stuff and see how far you can take it, and I'm sure if you practice it long and hard enough, you will come up with things that, I didn't even think of. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about music, right? It's a big recycling bin of ideas. Everyone takes from it, and they put back their own kind of stank on it or whatever. So that's really it. I'm gonna close out with just me jamming, using some of the concepts that we talked about here, and I hope you have a wonderful day and have fun playing your chromatic harmonica.